My name's Leo and I'm a boat builder and a sailor, and I'm on a mission to rebuild and restore the 111-year-old classic sailing yacht Tally-Ho. Now this week we're going to be putting a lot more bulkheads into the boat hopefully, and that'll mean seeing the interior actually start to take shape. We're going to hear some words of wisdom from Pete and from Richard and Rowan, and we're going to open up a surprise piece of mail which has something to do with Tally-Ho's history inside, and I'm going to be auctioning off one of my boats. But first I've got to finish off the bulkhead that I was working on in the last video. So last week I started making this bulkhead and I got as far as stringing all the pieces together and rough cutting it. Now I'm going to cut it down to the line to get it to hopefully be ready to fit up against the planks inside the boat. So this bulkhead behind me is now dry fitted and pretty much ready to glue up. But before I do that, I'm going to trim the inboard end of it. When I first made this, I wasn't sure of the cockpit position, the footwell that is, the size of it, and that all relates to the interior bulkheads, to this one and the bulkhead that runs along the side of this cabin here. Anyway, long story short, I ended up making this bulkhead quite a bit oversized, but now I have a better idea of the final cockpit layout. I can actually trim this to its final size in situ, and then we can take it out and then we'll bed it in and screw it and glue it and so on. So I've owned this little gaff rig dinghy behind me for a few years now, and although it's been a lot of fun to sail occasionally, I've always wanted something a bit bigger that I could take the whole crew out in. And so since I bought Stromboli, I haven't been using this, and it's just taking up valuable dry storage space. The boat itself has a kind of interesting story. Apparently, I have no way of proving this, but apparently it was actually built as part of the development process for developing the lamination technique that was used to build the Hughes Hercules aeroplane, otherwise known as the Spruce Goose. It's not suitable for Tally-Ho's tender, unfortunately, so I've decided to sell it. I'm going to auction it off, and half the proceeds are going to go towards the timber for Tally-Ho's spars, and the other half are going to go towards a non-profit, Rocking the Boat. They are based in New York, and they do a lot of work getting teenagers involved in boat building, and they build boats and then they sail those boats and row those boats. I believe we should be working hard to make boat building and sailing more accessible to more people, so I really want to support and encourage what they do. So half the proceeds will be going towards them. The auction will begin today, the 2nd of October, and run until next Saturday, the 9th, which is actually the day when Rocking the Boat are having their own big fundraising event where they row the boats that they've built all the way around Manhattan. So if you want to support them, if you want to support this project, and if you're interested in owning this fine sailing dinghy, then head on over to the links below. There'll be more information about the boat on the bidding page, of course. So good luck and thanks.
One of my favorite things about the Boatyard is all the Boatyard dogs. When you drop your ruler in the bilge or you get some schmutz on your shirt and you're not feeling so great, the Boatyard dogs really are there to improve your quality of life. We've got 3 main types of Boatyard dog. We've got the free-range Boatyard dog, we've got the car-bound Boatyard dog, and then we've got the visiting, taking a dog on a walk Boatyard dog. All 3 are really nice, but I'm mostly a big fan of the free-range Boatyard dogs. Well, I think the obvious thing that I need to do is steal Leo's camera and go find some. Dog number 1, hey! Fiber!
Hey, Mr. Backtrack.
We're getting really good footage.
We can pet a dog, okay?
Hey, dude.
Oh, you remember me? You remember me. We can both get root beers. I don't know if you like it. I'll get you like a side of chicken strips or something. You'd like that.
So this bulkhead that I'm about to start making actually comes in all the way to the centre line of the boat, which means that it goes all the way down to the keel timber. But because I don't want that Douglas Fir all the way down in the bilge, where it might be sitting in water sometimes, I'm going to put a small Purple Heart cleat onto the keel timber, and that'll mean unless there's a lot of water in the bilge, it'll just be that hardwood that is in the water and not the softwood Doug Fir bulkheads. Our bulkheads mount to the faces of our frames or deck beams or both. And in an ideal, the perfect life of a bulkhead, it would land flat on the face of a deck beam and flat on the face of a frame. But because of the differences in the deck layout and the frame layout, they're not lined up with each other because of their spacing. So anyway, on a lot of these bulkheads, we need to put a cleat on to either push the bulkhead off the frame a little bit so it can land onto a deck beam flush, or off a deck beam a little bit so it can land onto a frame. So anyway, that's what I'm working on right here. I'm doing a little nailer, a cleat, on the aft face of this frame, so it then matches up with this deck beam. So they should be plumb to earth. Some of them, like this one, is actually kind of has a little bow to it, so it's kind of hooked forward on the top and bottom. So the cleat I'm making for this particular bulkhead is kind of hourglass shaped. It's fat on the top, narrow in the middle, and fat on the bottom again. But that actually will plumb this face up so it meets this deck beam correctly. This one, being that bow shape, has been a real mother licker to fit.
Yeah, I'm fitting this chain locker bulkhead here. It only comes up to about this high here. Eventually it get cut off. Fitting all the little pieces in, well, I finally got it fit, so I got to take it apart, epoxy the end grain of all the pieces, reassemble it after it's epoxied. We'll screw it into the frames and into itself. I've already got the holes plotted on this side, so when we get it all together, screwed, I'll cut it off and it'll be another bulkhead.
Very good. All right. So I do sometimes receive interesting stuff in the mail, for which I'm always very grateful. And recently I received these very beautifully painted portraits of characters from these videos. And you may recognize on the right is Steve Cross, who milled the live oak in Georgia. And on the left is Roy, who is an English gentleman who I interviewed back in the UK. His grandfather was the skipper of Tally-Ho when that boat won the Fastnet race in 1927. So it's really cool to receive these paintings, but it's also relevant because I recently received something else in the mail from Roy via a friend of his, and I haven't opened it yet, but it's apparently something that's very related to Tally-Ho's history. So this is apparently Tally-Ho's boat hook from when Roy's grandfather was the skipper from that famous race in 1927, and it somehow got passed on to Roy, and he kept hold of it all these years and has decided now to pass it on to me and back to the boat, which is a really beautiful thing to do, and I'm really, really pleased to have it. And it may just look like a rusty piece of wrought iron, but to me this is really special, and I'll be able to get it cleaned up and hopefully put back into service.
Welcome to my other cabin.
Otherwise known as the chain locker.
Yep, I get the lazaret and the chain locker to hold my stuff. And then I guess other people get actual bunks. That was the agreement.
Where's the chain gonna go?
Right on top of me. It's like a blanket. I think I've done about 300 plugs today.
How many plugs do you think you've put in this boat altogether?
I've done north of 2,000 plugs in this boat.
Bulkheads. What are they? Where do they come from? Why do we make them? So we're still working on bulkheads. There's 12 or 13 athwartship bulkheads in the boat. So I'm working on one right here for the wet locker. All of the end grain on our T&G boards, the parts that bear against the hull planking on the outboard edge, we're sealing with a little bit of epoxy, and then we're bedding these with a rot-resistant putty, some dolphinite and pine tar, and a trade secret ingredient. So this particular bulkhead's for our wet locker that we kind of redesigned. We moved it from the drawings we had. We've decided to put this elsewhere in the boat. So we've actually added a bulkhead, and we also decided to build our chain locker bulkheads just like all of our other bulkheads. And so we're actually getting a little low on our material. We milled up all that T&G fur a while ago. Well, Rowan and Patrick milled up all that T&G fur a while ago, and our pile is quickly dwindling. We have a little bit of extra stock that we bought up, but we're not sure if we're gonna have enough to do all of our double diagonal bulkheads, so fingers crossed. Right, well, we've had a good couple of weeks, plenty more bulkheads going into the boat, and the construction of the bulkheads is getting quicker and quicker, so I'm very happy with that. That's about it for now, but do remember I am selling this small gaff rig dinghy. Check out the link below if you're interested and would like to bid on it. Apart from that, thanks a lot for watching, and a massive thank you to everyone who has donated or otherwise supported this project. It does make a huge difference, and it means that we're able to carry on with this work, and it means that I'm able to carry on making and editing these videos. So I really, really appreciate it. I'll see you next time. Cheers.